listening to Into the Arena, a Hunger Games podcast sparking the fandom one episode at a time, with your hosts, Holly and Emily. Special thanks for music by Sam Cushion.
Welcome back, tributes, to episode 18 of Into the Arena. I'm Holly.
And I'm still Emily.
I know, 18 episodes later, we're still doing the introductions. And today's episode, we're just going to hop right in. It's all about the Peeta Love Club and just obsessing over our favorite male character in the Hunger Games. But before we jump into that, be sure to check out us on Mondays, Mockingjay Mondays, where we do our read-along, and then check us out on our social media. You can find us at Into the Arena Podcast on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, everything.
All the places.
Check us out. We're just gonna jump right into this because today Emily and I are just so excited.
We've done a Gale episode, a Gale hate episode.
Exactly.
We did a Katniss episode, so we've got to finish out the trio, I guess. Peeta, we got to talk all about him.
Absolutely. Okay. So we have questions. Emily and I always set up a little outline for us to talk, but I mean, we both love Peeta so much, so I feel like it's just gonna become a huge tangent, honestly. I'm ready for this to just be us obsessing over him for an hour.
Peeta Love Club. I mean,
which
it is what it is.
I know if Chase is listening to this, he's gonna be like, "Excuse me? I don't know. Where do you want to start? Where do we want to start?"
A random question that we could start with. What was the moment in the first book that you fell in love with Peeta, basically?
Oh, definitely. I remember. This is another core memory of the Hunger Games I have. It's in the cave when he talks about Katniss singing the Valley song and when he knew he was in love with her. I remember reading that for the first time and I was like, ooh, my God, I love this man.
Interesting. It took that long? Because I was gonna say the interview. When he turned it around, it was just oh my gosh, I love Katniss. And I was like, and I love you.
Oh my gosh. No, see, when I first read it, I didn't know, reading it from Katniss's perspective, I was like, what is this man up to? What is he up to?
Okay, interesting. Because another question I was thinking about was, did you have concerns about Peeta along the way? Because Katniss is really concerned, and then seeing him with the careers, did you think he actually could be legitimately with the careers?
I was just genuinely confused about it. I really didn't know because, I mean, I love the way that we're reading it from Katniss's perspective. And so when she first described seeing him while she's in the tree with the careers, and then it's just him saying that he's in love with her, I'm like, I feel like I'm trusting Katniss more. I was very biased towards this man is up to something and I don't trust it.
I was totally on board with Peeta. I didn't trust Katniss at all.
Wow.
She's so not negative, but I mean she skews kind of negative.
Definitely.
In her thinking. And I was like, Peeta is just, he's genuine. You could tell. I was just in love with him from the very beginning, which is kind of weird for me because I feel like I tend to align with Katniss, in her thinking. I mean, I feel like I'm kind of similar to her, but how can you not love Peeta? I even from the very beginning, and especially flashing back to that scene where he gave her the bread, I was like, there's no ulterior motive there. So I think that made me completely trust him.
I think for me it was more we do have that background of him giving her the bread and saving her life, but at the same time what Katniss experiences is so jumbled. Her thoughts are all over the place and we don't really know. I feel like there's just so much confusion and craziness in her life that there's never been that sort of constant that Peeta offers to her. So when I first read that he helped her, I was like, oh, he's just being a nice person. But now that they're in the games, it's almost like the deleted scene where it's oh, so we're on the same playing field now. We don't owe each other anything. It's different in real life versus when you're in an arena trying to kill each other and trying to survive. So I was just Like, I
Maybe
didn't
you were
really
just more
know.
like immersed in Katniss's
I
mindset
think so,
than I
yeah.
was. And I
'Cause
was
I
kind of
trusted
like
her.
more, I
You're
don't
like,
know, not as deep in it. I was
yeah,
like, how can you
definitely.
not see this?
No, I just
But you were
that's
like
so
living
funny
in the
though.
moment of Katniss.
Yes, I was so confused. And then even in the cave scene, like that's when I did start to love him, especially like that line like about her braids and the Valley song and blah blah blah. And I just remember loving that. But then at the back of my mind, I was still like, and what? And what's coming? What are you not telling me right now, Peeta? Like I was so closed off until catching fire. So, or even like the
Interesting.
train scene at the end of the first book where you actually see how much he loves her.
Where my heart breaks.
Yeah, which is also the opposite because I feel like when I read a lot of like I love reading YA books. Whenever I read YA, I fall in love with the character that like the protagonist is supposedly in love with. Like right off the bat, I'm like, "Oh, I love you." And then with Peeta, I was like, "Give me a second. Like, I don't trust her. I do not trust
No,
her at
no,
all."
that interview just like rocked my world.
I was like, I don't trust
It's
that
like,
easy."
this man is funny, he's smart, he's charming, he's actually in love with Katniss. Like, sign me up.
Oh my gosh, I feel like that'd be like that part, like he's actually in love with Katniss would be like an asterisk, it'd be like at the bottom of the page, like, is he in love with her or is it all for the games? I don't
No, no,
know.
no.
Yeah, but that's so funny that you fell in love with him so soon. That's
The cave
interesting.
scene is pretty great though.
The cave scene, oh, that's what I put down when like we're going through like these notes. My favorite scene of Peeta and the whole trilogy is the cave scene. It's just ultimate, not movie cave scene, book cave scene. It is the most enjoyable aspect of that book to read. I just love it so much.
It is a good part. I think it's hard for me to think about the cave scene in my mind, I think has diminished because of the movie. And I
Yeah.
haven't like read the books. Like I don't reread books that much.
Hmm.
So just thinking about the cave scene, I'm kind of like, the cave scene. But it's actually it's so good in the book. Like I know it is,
Yeah.
but I definitely don't think of the cave scene as like high up there in my mind anymore just because of what the movie did to it. The
The
movie
movie
kind of
is,
ruined it for me
it's a disgrace. It's awful.
so bad. The first movie does Peeta dirty, in my
Oh,
opinion.
so bad.
Like there are moments and like I mean it's a script, it has nothing to do with Josh.
I thought you were gonna talk about how he looks because whenever we did the watch along, you're like, look how
No,
crusty this man looks. His hair is so bad.
his hair is not good, but
It's
yet
not
again, that
good.
is not Josh's fault.
I know. It's not his
Somebody's
choice.
fault.
We fixed it though. We fixed it
Because
in
he looks
Catching
great in
Fire.
Catching Fire. So
Oh my gosh. Okay, well what is your favorite Peeta scene from the books?
my favorite Peeta scene is from Catching Fire when they're at the party.
Oh,
Peeta has like such a good moment there, I think, when he realizes like the excess of the party. And in the movie, there's the line, people are starving in 12. But it's so much more expanded. And I think he's pretty angry in that scene at the party, more so than in the movie. And he even questions, maybe we're doing the wrong thing, trying to
mhm.
subdue all this. Maybe, we need to stand up and do something about this. I'm like, Peter.
Oh, that's a really interesting moment to pick too.
I just love it. I don't
Yeah.
know how he's just like he's mad.
Now that you mentioned it, I feel like it gives me major Sejanus vibes. Like
Oh,
major.
interesting. Maybe this
Yeah.
says something about me.
Oh my gosh.
Like
Emily
Peter
has a type.
plus a little bit of Gale.
Just a little bit. Yeah. No, that's really cool. I mean, there were so many great scenes. I feel like all of mine are just like the cute scenes between Katniss and him.
I
Yeah.
found the part, it's like we're quiet for a while, then Peeta speaks in a strained voice. You go along, thinking you can deal with it, thinking maybe they're not so bad, and then he cuts himself off. He's just mad.
Oh, yeah.
Like
He's
can't even.
frustrated.
He's so consumed with emotion.
Hmm.
He's so cute.
We love Peeta. We love him. Yeah. Plus, he looks good in that scene. I mean, in the
He does look
movie,
good
he
at that.
looks
I mean, all
really
of
good.
Catching Fire, he looks fantastic.
What scene in particular does Peeta look the best in the films?
I mean, with Katniss, we talked about outfits, and we're talking
Hmm.
about outfits. I have like I love when he's in the arena in the catching fire suit.
Oh my gosh, girl. You're like, it's a little tight.
He looks cute, okay?
Uh-huh.
But like overall, I think the scene where he looks the best, and it's terrible because it's a really sad scene, but the little suit that he has on in District 11, and then when he goes up to the microphone and does all the
Mm,
talking
yeah.
and gives the fallen tributes families the money,
Mhm.
he looks good.
He looks really good. He looks very good. I feel like I really like how he looks in, I mean, his hair when he's in the quarter to quell, his hair is just like how it's kind of like flat, oh, the beach scene. I'm just like, I love that man. I love him.
See, I that he looks the most in that scene that like he looks in the Hunger Games.
Oh, really? See, I like it. I think the hair
I
looks
mean, maybe because it's kind
better.
of wet, like
Mhm,
it does look better, but like the
mhm.
matted down look, I'm not really.
I'm like
I
into
like
it. I'm
the
like,
swooped back look.
no. So, yeah, well, I guess kind of. Like the one that sticks out to me, like when I'm most attracted to Peeta, is on the train when he confronts Katniss at the beginning, and he's like, "Sorry, like I apologize for everything. Like, what's your favorite color?" Like they're trying to build that friendship up. I'm like, I love you. I love this man.
That
Mm,
if we're gonna talk about favorite movie scenes,
mhm.
that's my favorite movie
Oh,
scene.
me too. Me too.
It's so good. Their chemistry in that scene, they're just cute and funny. That scene is like how all of the arena Peeta is in the first Hunger Games.
Mhm.
He's just funny
So
and
cute.
cute.
I love him so much. I love Peeta. I love him. Oh,
Oh my gosh, what is this episode?
literally, it's just us fangirling over Peeta. No, but like for real, Peeta Malark is my all-time favorite fictional character, like including like TV, movie, video games, like everything. Like books, everything. It is Peeta Malark. I love this man. I'll give anything to be with this man. I love him. So like the fact that we're making a whole episode where I can literally just like panic about this is amazing. Like I love it. I'm trying to think. Like we don't get to see much of him in Mockingjay, but I think one of my favorite quotes that he has is from Mockingjay. So like all the
Mm.
quotes that I picked for Peeta that I know like I am obsessed with. Like one's the cave scene. It's a quote from the cave scene. The other is I'm trying to see what it is. Oh, it's something about like in the future, Haymitch and Katniss will like grow up and have picnics together. Like that one's just funny. But my favorite Peeta quote of all time is from Mockingjay, and it's the problem is I can't tell what's real anymore and what's made up. And it's like, oh, don't get
Oh,
me into it. Like
hurts your heart.
the line real or not real is the most significant line to me out of the whole trilogy because it just symbolizes coming out of war and out of such trauma and really struggling with like mental health and like understanding where you're supposed to go from there as a human and experiencing your own emotions and not knowing what's real, what's fake, who to trust. Because I mean, Katniss and Peter are kids in the books, obviously. And so they're growing up in a world where like they're being used, they're being manipulated, and like how are they supposed to find their own sense of freedom with that? So when I read that, or even like when they mention those sort of like real or not real in the movies, it's just like I love it so much. It means so much to me, and I think it represents so much of his growth as a character from like Catching Fire to Mockingjay, especially.
Yeah. You picked a good quote with
Mm.
like a lot of a lot behind it. I'm just like a romantic sap, I guess. And
Same, yeah.
but there are so many good lines that are just like cute and romantic. But my
Mhm.
favorite one is the rooftop scene in Catching Fire, which
Oh,
is I wish I could freeze this moment right here, right now, and live in it forever.
stop! That's not allowed. It's so
That scene's just
good.
so good. And the fact that it's like not in the movie, like that whole scene is not in the movie.
Yeah.
Catching Fire is a near perfect film, but
Well, that's
just
why
a
I get
few
so
adjustments.
surprised. Yeah, because they included a lot from the first book. I mean, in terms of Katniss and Peeta time. we got the cave scene. I know it's not the full cave scene that we wanted. We got the night before the games, like these intimate moments between them. And I know it doesn't really provide much for the plot, but like we would have loved it anyway. Like it would have been
Yeah.
perfect.
I mean, they kept what they had to, I guess, like the beach scene.
Hmm.
But I wish there had been a little bit more, like another kind of impactful moment between the two of them before the beach scene,
I agree.
like
Because,
outside of the arena.
well, yeah, it just feels like there's so much distance between them, which I mean, that is how it's supposed to feel because Katniss is still assessing her feelings for him. But it's just kind of like there is a relationship outside of life and death with them and being in an arena. Like there is a greater relationship. Like for example, there's the beach scene, but then I guess you could argue because Finnick talks about it when Peeta walks into the force field and he dies for a second. Um, there's like this intense moment of like true love and true care between Katniss and Peeta that I feel like it says so much more than the 3-minute dialogue on the beach. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of tacky in the movie.
Yeah, I just want
Well,
more. I just
well,
want more
even
scenes
just like
between them.
I love the training scene, like where he during the book,
Mm.
Peeta is like whipping Haymitch and Katniss into shape, and he's making them work out, and
I
makes
know
Haymitch
that's like
stop
a
drinking.
huge thread of
Mm,
something that he does. It's just totally cut from the movies.
yeah, and I think I love that so much because it's you see how like Peeta's taking control and how much he cares about these two people. That he's like, no, we're not gonna just go and die. Like we are going to whip ourselves into shape, and we're gonna go and we're gonna do our best. And he takes
Hmm.
it very seriously. Like the training
Yeah,
montage is huge in the book.
like he would do anything to protect Katniss, and like
Hmm.
that is such a huge example of it. He's like, okay, we're gonna do this. This is our mindset. We're gonna win.
Hmm.
Mm,
Which is so different from Peeta in the first games. I mean, like he's like, I don't want to be a piece in their games. I guess in a sense, like they are trying to not be a piece of the games in the Quell, but at the same time, he's like, no, I guess we have to play by their rules. We have no choice, and we just, like you said, he just is determined to win, and that's completely different from 74th Hunger
well, it's
Games
also
Peeta.
like he has to pick something else to rely on
Hmm.
because his strategy for the first games, which is just relying on his like humor and charm,
Hmm.
isn't really going to work when all these other tributes are involved that the Capitol has also like already fallen in love with.
So that's just another important part. I mean, it reminds me of the Mockingjay, Johanna, and Katniss training time, But it's like just imagining that in a movie with like Haymitch and Katniss and Peeta and catching fire. Oh, I would love that. That's a scene I would have loved. A little montage.
Yeah,
What is your favorite Peeta dynamic, like with another character other than Katniss?
I feel like I'm gonna get flack for picking this, but
I'm so concerned.
because I picked Finnick and Katniss with Katniss, and I think I'd pick the same Finnick and Peeta
Mm.
in Mockingjay, which is interesting because it was also Finnick and Katniss in Mockingjay was what stood out to me most about that relationship.
Hmm.
But I can't remember the books so much, so I'm sorry. But in the movie in Mockingjay, when Peeta comes and joins the Star Squad, like Finnick is really like buddy buddy with Peeta. Like he's the
Hmm.
one looking out for him. And I love that little scene when he has lines to say and they're like walking into the place where the goo, the tar comes in and he's helping him like with his lines in that
Yeah.
scene of what to say. And I'm like they just always like walking together and they're just cute. I like that they're friends.
Like Finnick is just trying to take care of him.
Yeah, and more so than Katniss. I mean, because Katniss can't, I
Hmm.
guess.
I'm interested by that. I really had no idea what you're gonna say, because I feel like it's harder. Like when we were talking about Katniss, it's a lot easier for us to pick because we're seeing her perspective and her interacting with people. But what we see is Peeta interacting with people when he's around Katniss. I would say which is pretty much the same as what you just said. Like I would pick Haymitch. Like I picked Haymitch for Katniss and I pick Haymitch
Mm.
for Peeta, but
You
at the
just
same
love Haymitch,
I love Haymitch.
and I
Oh.
love Finnick.
I
Like
know.
Finnick is like in my top 3, and Haymitch is in your top 3.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to
no surprises actually.
I was genuinely trying to think this through because while I do really enjoy the relationship between Peeta and Haymitch, I enjoy the relationship because of Peeta, Haymitch, and Katniss.
Mm,
Because I love the three of them. I think it's so cute how they end up being together and being friends and supporting each other. But really, all in all, Haymitch was more on Katniss's side the whole time. Like, if he had to have picked one tribute to come out of the arena, the first
yeah.
games, it would have been Katniss. And
But he
so,
also knows that like Peeta would also, choose that, and
mhm,
but he also agrees that that would be the right choice. So
yeah. So it's just like, again, I see like I love the like funny aspects and like the humor and how Peeta does take care of Haymitch, like at the beginning of Catching Fire, at the beginning of the games when they're reaped and he's cleaning up his throw up, like all that stuff. He is trying to take care of him, and yeah, he's doing that to kind of get on Haymitch's good side at first, but he ends up doing it because he cares about Haymitch, obviously. And so also I like to imagine that while Katniss is home from the 74th games and she's like isolating herself, I like to imagine that Peeta spends a lot of time with Haymitch. More so than like even with his family, because he wasn't really close with his family
mm.
too. I mean, like that's like a little headcanon I have, but
I you were talking about how Hamish would kind of prefers Katniss, and thinking about like what I talked about, I think Finnick prefers Peeta. I think Peeta reminds
Hmm.
him a lot of Annie, not
Yeah.
just in Mockingjay and what happens, but just how sweet and like kind-hearted he is. I think
Hmm.
that's a lot like Annie,
Yeah.
and I kind of think that Finnick thought Peeta was too good for Katniss up until that force field moment.
Hmm. Definitely. Like he saw through the act just as much as Snow did.
And then it wasn't an act.
It was love all along.
True love.
Yeah. No, that's a good point though, that in terms of like how he sees Annie, because I do think like part of me kind of thinks that Finnick has like a little bit of a savior complex. I mean, like he goes down dying to like save the people that he's with. Like there's just like a little mini bit of a savior complex. It's not like a bad savior complex,
I
like how
mean,
people can be
he is
extreme.
like, he puts on an act of being full of himself, and
Mhm.
there's part of that that's truth. Like that's why it like comes across so well,
Yeah.
because it's not 100% a lie.
But yeah, I love that. I love just thinking about little headcanons like afterwards too of like, hey, Mitch and Katniss and Peeta post Mockingjay and so
I just
cute.
love that you picked Haymitch again and I picked Finnick again. We
Yeah.
need to have a Haymitch and a Finnick episode.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We need to have like some drinks for the Haymitch episode, I feel like though.
That'd be great. It'd be
uh,
like
just like
episode
cheers.
after dark.
Yeah, Haymitch episode, dude. Yes, I'm so down. But yeah, I don't know. And so I feel like it's a complicated relationship between them, but I'll always pick Haymitch for everything.
I mean, if we're taking Katniss and Peeta out of the mix, I will always pick Finnick for
Yeah,
everything. So
definitely, definitely.
I guess we wanted to talk about one quality, like we did with Katniss. What is your favorite quality about Peeta?
I feel like we're both gonna say very similar things. Like I would just
Are
say
we?
I would say his compassion, like compassion slash kindness, because if you're thinking about the world like of Panem and the world that Katniss and Peeta are raised in and grow up in, there's no room for compassion. It's all about fending for yourself, fending for sometimes your family. Like, I mean, you like family love only goes so far on reaping day, you know? So there's only so much room for caring for others. But the fact that Peeta always puts others before himself, I think is one of the most amazing things. And he just does it. Like he doesn't expect anything back. Whereas with Katniss, she will do that, but I think it's more so out of she doesn't feel like owing people, or she just feels like she needs to do that, or she'll do it for people who she can't live without, sort of. So for me, I just think that there's this genuine like beautiful heart and soul in Peeta, where he will drop anything for anyone. Whereas I don't think Katniss would do the same.
I do love all that about Peeta.
Little dandelion in the spring.
But to be honest, without my favorite quality, I don't think I would like Peeta as much. Like, my favorite thing about Peeta is that he's funny.
Oh, okay.
And if he wasn't, I don't think I'd be as into him.
I think it'd be kind of creepy. Like he'd be like one of those guys who are just like a little too sweet, and you're kind of like, gross. No, thank you.
His like
Stop.
charm and humor,
Yeah.
and like maybe that's why I first really fell in love with him during the interview, because I
Mhm.
feel like that's where that comes out like in full force. Like smell them talking about like the roses, and like like laughing with Caesar about that. And
Yeah.
then just all of his hilarious quotes in the arena. Like he's kind of sarcastic a little bit too. Like he's just witty,
Mhm.
and I'm in love.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think that's a good point.
Like,
I just picked
say
his
the
like
arena is
compassion.
a giant cake.
Oh my gosh, literally. Or like,
Frosting, the final
yes,
defense,
that's what
the
I was gonna
dying.
say.
Like,
It's so
stop.
funny. Like he just makes fun of himself all the time. And I think he also just expresses like his care and his love through his humor too. So that's a good point.
Yeah, people say that like being self-deprecating and sarcastic is the lowest form of humor, but I'm like, that is my favorite form of humor.
Yeah,
It's the
definitely.
only kind of humor I can do. I always
Mhm.
laugh at people who do that. So,
Mhm.
Peeta,
So Peeta and you have the same sense of humor. I love that.
our only similarity.
Oh my gosh, same. I'm like, I am nothing like that man at all.
Peeta?
Literal opposite.
You guys have like the same Myers-Briggs. What are you talking about?
He's extroverted. I mean, like, I'm a very
That's so
emotional person. I feel like he's very emotional. So I feel like we fit in that way.
literally all the stuff you said about like compassion. That's just you describing yourself, Holly.
Stop. Why do you always flatter me every single time? Okay, sometimes you're mean to me, but then sometimes you flatter me, and I'm like, really, Emily? You
Yeah,
think
but when it
so?
comes down to it, when I'm being serious, I'm
Oh.
nice.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. Oh my gosh, guys. I love Emily. Also, this episode will be out after Emily's birthday, which is this week. We're recording it in a few days. So happy birthday, Emily. I'm going to be posting about it this week. I'm so excited. I hope everyone wishes you a happy
Oh no,
birthday
don't.
to Queen Emily. I'm so excited.
I'm gonna be old.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to talk about it so much on the live on Monday.
Not really old. I mean, 28. 28 isn't old, but
It's not old at all.
I feel
Okay.
old compared to Holly.
Little 21-year-old Holly.
Uh,
It's fine. It's fine. But what else? What else can we talk about Peeta? I'm trying to think. I mean, like the one thing I could think of, you're gonna hate me. You're
oh
gonna
no.
absolutely hate me. Is Peeta related to Prim? Comment down below. Emily's about to
This
take her
has
headphones
nothing
off.
to do with PETA, so let's just let that die.
Hey guys, comment down below if you think that Peeta and Prim are similar and or related.
I am so shocked because we put up a poll on Instagram and it was pretty close. It was like
Yeah.
55% no,
Uh-huh.
45% yes. I was shocked. I was
Yeah.
shocked that people thought the answer was yes, that anybody.
Like, so we brought this up in our live last week, and I'm really curious to just do a whole live about it. Just like get all the details. We'll get all the bullet points out. We'll have a full-on conversation with everyone. Because I mean, if it's that close, like you said, the people are speaking. The people are
It's
sensing
the
something.
problem is there's reasons to make conjecture that it is, but there's not really reasons for it to be false.
Exactly.
Other than that we just haven't been told.
We need a paternity test. We need a paternity test now.
Who's the father?
I feel like we should make that meme. Like, what is that show? Like the guy who like does like the
I know
father
what you're
thing.
talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We can do that with Peeta and Prim. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I had to bring that up as soon as I remembered we were doing a Peeta episode after talking about this last week. I was like, I have to bring this up because I know Emily's gonna roll her eyes. Give me the Emily face, the Emily look.
Flashback.
Comment down below.
End of flashback.
The Emily face.
It's also a thing like in our own little part of the fandom, the Emily face, the I love it. So funny.
I need to
Oh,
stop that.
it's so funny.
Stoic
Stoic.
face.
A strong, independent woman.
I'll keep my RBF.
Oh my gosh.
I have an honorable mention for favorite Peeta movie moment,
Ooh, go ahead.
which is my favorite moment from the first film. After the cave is over and they go hunting, and then Peeta's like, "I'll take the bow," and
Oh
then like the
yeah.
little like smirk that he gives, I'm like, that's it. That's Peeta. That is Hunger Games Peeta right
See,
there.
I have to argue that, like, in the movie, I don't think he did a good, like, Josh Hutcherson did not do a good job acting that line out. Because, like, I felt like it was kind of, like, serious. I don't know. It just rubbed me the wrong way. I think it's lame.
It's the way that he like smiles afterward.
That's true. But it's just, I don't know. If you hadn't, I don't know. It just was always kind of, like, off to me for some reason.
No, Holly, no.
But okay, I want to talk about the absolute worst appearance that he makes, the ugliest that man looks.
Okay, I mean this is the We Love Peeta episode, but
So we have to put a little bit of salt in here for our Gale lovers. I have to say his most disturbing look
oh wait, I
is,
think I know what you're gonna say.
is the reaping like of the 74th cave. It's so bad. This man is
It is
crusty.
so bad. It's so
Man is
bad.
crusty.
He looks bad, and also his
Oh.
weird facial
He's like-
expression. It's like
Yeah, literally. It's like, what is going on in this moment? Like,
his mouth looks weird.
oh, it's so bad. His
I remember
hair,
when we first saw that, like in the first trailer, I think people like brought that up. They were like he looks so weird. Like that scene looks so bad. And then people were like coming to his defense, like, well, he just got raped. Like his life is like ending. Like this is tragic. Like, and I'm like, no, it's not Peeta.
like, so is Katniss, but she doesn't look like a wackadoo. Like, that man looks crazy.
Exactly.
That man looks like a sociopath. Like, he's like trying to like pretend to feel emotions, and it's really just the hair for me. Like, the hair is all bad in the Hunger Games, but like it's just
His
it
hair
looks
looks like that
greasy.
the whole time though, Holly. Like
True, but yeah, the facial expression's really solid. It's just
It
the
just
grease. He just
all
looks
together.
greasy to that day. I don't think he took a bath.
Well, District 12 is greasy,
Well, at least take a bath on reaping day.
Yeah, even Katniss took a bath.
Exactly. So that's the one
And
thing.
he's
I
a
think he
merchant
probably
boy.
smells a little bit. Probably smells a little bit that day. He's sweating because it's also so hot on July 4th in District 12. So this man is probably disgusting. Candace is probably like, is this really the man I'm going into the arena with? Like this smelly man. That's his lowest point. It's not when he's hijacked. That's definitely not his lowest point. It is the movie when he is reaped. He just
I actually
disturbing.
think he looks the worst in the flashback
Ew. Yeah.
because
That's
I
a
mean
good
he doesn't
one.
look bad. He just doesn't look like Peeta. He looks like Josh Hutcherson.
He's just like angry.
he,
Also, his
he
face
also
is
has
just like
brown hair in the flashback.
throwing food. He's like,
What?
yeah.
Why does Peeta suddenly have brown hair in the flashback?
It's like the color changing bracelets or whatever. It's like when it rains, it changes his hair. So he just has like dark hair.
Normally if you're like a dirty blonde like myself, it's like when you're younger your hair is even more blonde,
Yeah.
and then as you get older it gets like a little bit darker like mine has. I'm like, so we're going back in time and his hair is darker. Like, what?
Yeah. Exactly.
Doesn't make
It's
any
just like
sense.
back and forth. Like, oh, so strange. But like bringing up Mockingjay, I feel like we should definitely talk about like your emotions the first time of reading about his hijacking, because I feel like that's one of the most important Peeta parts of the whole trilogy.
Honestly, I was just angry at Katniss the whole time. Like,
Really?
especially thinking about that conversation that Haymitch and Katniss have, and like why I love Peeta so much. Haymitch says like what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
and Katniss thinks, yeah, like if the situation was reversed, Peeta would stop at nothing to get me back and be helping me.
Mhm.
And that's like a turning point for her. And I'm like, that's right.
Feel
Peeta would
bad.
stop at nothing.
No, I think that's why so many people love reading I mean, like, I'm making assumptions, but I know it's one of the most popular fan fiction, um, like,
Oh, is
spin-offs or
there like a
ideas.
reversed one?
Yeah, where Katniss was hijacked and Peeta. Wait, are you like not aware? This is the most, probably the most behind like post Mockingjay fan fiction or Katniss being pregnant. Like the reversal of like who gets hijacked and saved in the arena is one of the most popular fan fictions in the or fan fiction topics in the Hunger Games community.
Really?
Yeah.
Holly, I don't really read fan fiction.
Oh,
So
I love me some
if there's a
favorite.
good one, you should send it to me
I
so
will.
I can be in the know.
I've read so many over the years. I've written one, I've read many, and I don't know, like it's just fun to imagine because I love how much Peeta cares for Katniss, you know? Like that line that you said, he would, like knowing how he would act around her. It would just make me love that man even more. I don't even know. That man would be like sleeping outside that door waiting for her every day.
I know.
He would like walk her to lunch whenever she started like finally getting more stable, you know. He would probably like talk her through every single moment. Like I just like part of me just like wants this like a almost like an AU where Suzanne Collins can just publish that just for fun for me to read
I
because
don't want it in Peeta's perspective. I just want like the whole series with the same things happening. Just want an alternate universe where
exactly.
Katniss is hijacked instead.
Yes, because like with Peeta, I mean like Candace, like you said, she's just like, that's not my problem. Bye. But
But if that had happened, like the end would not be the same.
oh yeah, like that's what I'm saying. I just want to read it for fun, just
Like
like
we
to see
wouldn't
how
get
much
where
you
we need
care.
to go.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember reading it for the first time and being like, what is happening? Like complete and utter confusion. Like, who did this? Who wrote this hate crime? Like, this is
Suzanne!
awful. Literally, Susie C needs to chill.
Ah!
Like, I know that when she first thought of that she was gonna go that plot direction, she was probably like, yes, we're going to do this, writing in her notes like everyone's going to hate me.
I wonder how she felt. I wonder if she was like angry at herself, you know? You know
Yeah.
how like authors, okay, I'm gonna like do the Twilight reference here, but
Always,
in
always.
New Moon, when Stephanie Meyer was writing that like Edward leaves,
Hmm.
and she was like really upset about it. She was like, no, like I can't write it, but she's like, but that's what the character would do, like so I have to, and she didn't want to. I wonder like how Suzanne feels about
I
moments
mean,
like that.
I think like with reading the villains that this woman has created, like Coin, Snow, Gall, I'm like, this woman, I feel like she kind of enjoyed writing it a little bit. I think she was excited to like put it out there and be like, I'm gonna go hide and you'll never hear from me ever again. Classic
Not that you
Suzanne.
ever heard from me anyway, but
Exactly. Exactly.
I would
I
too.
think
I
she,
feel like that's the kind of author I would be.
oh my
Like,
gosh.
ha ha
He's
ha.
so mean. I would be like Stephanie. I'd be like, I can't do this. I can't write this. I'd probably have to write like 2 copies and then just tell myself that the one I love is the
This
one
is
I
the real one.
published. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, that
Hijack
was like
Peeta.
that was the worst moment. I mean, of the whole trilogy. That was
Oh
my
yeah.
throw the book moment. You know,
Yeah.
when Peeta comes back and takes Katniss by the throat. It's like no.
And they did a
Why?
really good job of that scene in the movie. Like it's so intense how they're like he's throwing her throughout the room. Like it's crazy. The first time I saw it, I thought they would just kind of like jump to the ground and like tackle her. Like they throw each other. It's crazy.
Yeah, that is a really really good scene.
Mhm. We miss you, Peeta. Come back to normal.
Which
We love
eventually
you.
he does, kinda.
Kind of. I just kind of like pretend that he's
Kinda.
perfectly normal again. That's
I
just like
know,
my headcanon.
but I mean that's the point, right?
Yeah.
The plot, whatever.
Yeah. I mean like but we had to bring up the hijacked PETA. I feel like we shouldn't have brought it up at the end.
Such a downer.
I know it's like so we were like so hyped to make this episode and then it's like I'm like hijacked PETA and then we're like okay bye.
Should have saved the outfits for the end.
True. True. I'm trying to
Peeta looking cute.
let's think if PETA lived in our universe, like he was like in the 21st century in America, what kind of music do you think he would listen to?
Holly, this is not the question for me. As
I try
someone
to be
who barely
funny.
listens to music.
I'm trying to think. I feel like he would listen to like I really like Coldplay vibes. I feel like he'd be like Coldplay, like Snow Patrol, Goo Goo Dolls. I feel like he'd be that kind of man.
Snow Patrol. Yeah. The like happy but also sad.
Kind of like a little dramatic, like on his days where he's feeling a little emotional. The ENFP that he is, he has to feel like a main character. So turns on a little bit of sad music.
While he's doing his art.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. That's a perfect segue into my Hunger Games high school AU fan fiction where you can read all about Peeta in high school when I wrote it when I was 13. So if you want to laugh after reading a
Is he in
Hijacking,
art
read that.
class?
Oh, I don't even know if I wrote that, but you would be taking AP art for sure,
AP
if I
art.
wrote that.
Is there an AP art?
There is an AP art, yeah.
Oh, I bet it's not a fun class. I don't know
No.
if Peeta would be in that class.
He's like drawing some like psycho arenas and they're like, what does this even represent? He's like, I've just been having these dreams. I don't know. That's his portfolio. So yeah, I thought we should end it on a high note. Unless I don't know if you have anything else to talk about Peeta.
No. Just that I love him.
I know. I feel like we could just go back and forth and be like, I love him. I love him. I love him. But yeah, now that we got that out of our system, we got the Gale hate, we got the Katniss love, we got the Peeta obsession, so we're good.
I think so. We probably need to talk about, like, in a whole nother episode, just, we got into it a little bit, but Katniss and Peeta
Oh yeah,
together
that'll be like a 10
as a
episode,
couple.
10 episode series.
But you can't really talk about Peeta without talking about Katniss,
Very true.
because he's all for Katniss,
That's very true.
which is why we love him.
That's a perfect way to end the episode. We love Peeta. He loves Katniss. It's
Peeta Love
perfect.
Club.
Peeta Love Club. So if you guys want to join and you can like have a double membership. So if you want to join the Gale Hate Club and the Peeta Love Club, it's a 2-for-1 deal. It works out perfect. So let us know. Send us a DM. Comment below, and you can join.
We should make like membership cards for this.
I know. Dude, we so should. The one thing that we'd be able to like make. No shirts. I really want us to make shirts. But like somebody do it for us and we'll pay you.
Gale Hate Club and Peeta Love Club.
Yeah.
But we need something for Katniss too.
We'll think about it. Another thing, let us know if you have any ideas, guys. Check us out. Join us on Mockingjay Mondays. Check us out on Instagram or social media. We're really active and doing random lives sometimes. So come hang out. And I'm sure, I feel like starting this next weekend when this episode comes out, we'll start focusing more on cahoots and trivia and stuff. So make sure to like follow us and check it out. So until next time, bye.
See ya.